discuss about the paramyxoviruses. These are the group of viruses which are transmitted via the respiratory tract, following which it can cause the localized respiratory infection in children, or it may be a dissemination type of infection. So rubella is a virus which is thought not to be a paramyxovirus, but because of its resemblance with clinically and epidemiologically to measles virus, but it has been discussed over here. Morphology of all paramyxoviruses, they are round in shape, size of 100 to 300 nanometer in size, possess the helical type of nucleic acid of 18 nanometer size. They contain the RNA, which is a single-stranded RNA, which is linear, non-segmented and negative sense type of RNA. They contain the 6 structural protein and they have an envelope type of RNA virus. The nucleocapsid is surrounded by the host-derived lipid envelope in which the following virus-coded telomeres are inserted. So this is the envelope type of single-stranded RNA virus of helical nucleocapsid type. So glycoprotein of this paramyxovirus can be an F glycoproteins or it can be a larger glycoproteins. So paramyxoviruses that are called as paramyxoviridae are divided into the subfamily, that is paramyxovirin and pneumoviridae. Genera of paramyxoviruses are the respirovirus, rubeolavirus, morbillovirus or henipavirus, while the pneumoviridae contain the pneumovirus and metapneumovirus. In respirovirus, the human virus mainly which is infecting to the human are the paramyxovirus 1 and 3. In the rubeolaviruses, the main infection is by the mumps and parainfluenza type 2, 4A and 4B. Morbilliviruses are the measles virus. Henipavirus main contain the Hendra and the Nipah virus, which are the zoonotic infection viruses. Pneumoviridae means the respiratory syncytial virus and metapneumovirus means the human metapneumovirus. So parainfluenza are major, what is the major characteristic feature of this parainfluenza viruses is the major causes of lower respiratory tract infection mainly in the children. They have a 5 serotypes where 1 to 4 are there and type 1 and 3 belongs to the genus respirovirus while 2, 4A, 4B belongs to the rubella viruses. Pathogenicities and clinical manifestation is transmission is mainly by the respiratory route, either by the direct salivary contact or by the large droplet aerosol, and the incubation period appears to be 5 to 6 days. Clinical manifestation of these parainfluenza viruses, they will present mainly first with the mild common cold syndrome such as rhinitis and pharyngitis. Then sometime it is going to cause the croups, that is laryngotracheobronchitis, or it can causes the pneumonia or bronchitis. Sometimes the complication which is a common complication in the form of otitis media. Reinfection are common but less, but sometimes it may be present with the very severe. And there is no cross protection between the serotype is there. So once we are infected with one serotype, there are chances that the another infection will be there with the another serotype. Immunocompromised people are susceptible to the severe infection. The presentation may be sometimes different in the immunocompromised patient. Epidemiologically, this paramyxovirus infection is distributed worldwide. Type 3 is the most prevalent serotype and exists as an endemic throughout the year, with the annual epidemics occurs during the spring season. Type 1 and 2 are less common and seasonal. Type 4 and 4B are milder illness. The important cause of outbreak in pediatric ward and daycare centers and in school is mainly because of the common type that is type 3. Laboratory diagnosis for all paramyxoviruses either by antigen detection or by the virus isolation, where virus isolation is somewhat difficult, but antigen detection we can do, or sometimes the antibody detection method is very helpful. For antigen detection, virus antigen in the infected exfoliated epithelial cells of nasopharynx can be directly detected by immunofluorescence stain by using the specific monoclonal antibody. It is rapid but less sensitive than the virus isolation, but we can use whenever there is a skin lesion, and at the time of viremia, if we are detecting this skin lesion for antigen detection, it will give, but there are less chances, so it is less sensitive. Second one is the virus isolation. Specimens such as nasal wash, bronchoalveolar lavage fluid or lung tissue can be used. The culture is mainly done in the primary monkey kidney cell line, which is more sensitive. Alternative cell line which can be used is the continuous monkey kidney cell line, that is LLC MK2. The commonly used test other than antigen detection or virus isolation is the serum antibody, which can be measured by neutralization test, hemagglutination inhibition test, or ELISA test. Presence of IgM or fourfold rise in IgG titer is indicative of an active infection, as like other infections. We can also go for the reverse transcriptase PCR. This reverse transcriptase means the RNA of this virus is converted first into the DNA and the PCR is done. So it is called as reverse transcriptase PCR assay. It is highly specific and highly sensitive, but available only in the limited setting, and it is also very costly to do for all the patients. So it is have a limited use. Now first we will discuss about the mumps virus. The most common cause of parotid gland enlargement in the children is by the mumps virus. In severe cases, it can causes the orchitis and aseptic meningitis as a complications. Pathogenesis is mainly transmitted as like other paramyxovirus. It is by respiratory route via droplets or saliva or fomites. Primary replications occurs in the nasal mucosa or upper respiratory mucosa. Then it is going to infect the mononuclear cells and regional lymph node, and then it will spill into the bloodstream to cause a viremia, and then there will be a dissemination of the virus to cause a complication. The main target site after the primary viremia is the mumps, mainly going to infect the glands or glandular epithelium. The classical sites which are affected by this mumps virus is the salivary gland, testes, pancreas, ovaries, mammary glands, and CNS. Clinical manifestation depends on the incubation period. It may range from a wider variety to 7 days to 23 days, but about average is 19 days. Inapparent infection is common. Up to half of the infected people are either asymptomatic or present with the very low or non-specific symptoms such as fever, myalgia, anorexia, and this is more common in adults than in children. So sometimes the inapparent infection may be missed by the mumps virus if there is no clinical presentation. But if the presentation is there, it will be in the form of bilateral parotitis or epididymoorchitis or aseptic meningitis, oophorytis, pancreatitis, and atypical mumps may be common. Epididymoorchitis is one of the reasons for the sterility. Epidemiology is endemic. It is endemic in worldwide. Sporadic cases occurs throughout the years, with a peak in cases typically occurs in the winters and the spring. Epidemic occurs every 3 to 5 years. Typically associated with the unvaccinated people living in an overcrowded area. Period of communicability is also there. Patients are infectious from 1 week before to 1 week after the onset of symptoms. So when the patient is having the symptoms, at that time or before that time, patient is infectious and it can communicate the infection to the other people if they are living in the overcrowded places. It is most contagious within 1 to 2 days before the onset of symptoms. So it is very contagious before the onset of symptoms. Infective material is mumps virus is traded in the saliva, respiratory droplets, and the urine. Sources, cases are only the source. There is no carrier state or clinical stage or subclinical stage is 30 to 40%, but only the cases are the source, not the carrier. Reservoir is only human. Incidence is annual incidence of 100 to 1000 cases per 10,000 population, that is worldwide population incidence. Age is mainly 5 to 9 years of age are commonly affected, but no age is exempt if there is no previous immunity, so it can affect the any age people, and in adult it is always a severe as compared to the children. Immunity is one attack gives the lifelong immunity. Secondary attack rate is high with 86%. So laboratory diagnosis of this mumps is specimen we can collect is a buccal or oral swab, can also be detected in saliva, CSF or urine, some minor fluid or rarely in the blood. Massaging the parotid gland area for 30 seconds prior to swabbing is recommended for staining of the virus. Direct viral antigen detection can be done using specific immunofluorescence staining or virus isolation as like the paramyxo we can do on monkey kidney cell line or the continuous monkey kidney cell line. Common test is used is serum antibody detection by using ELISA test. Separate ELISA format are available for detecting mumps specific IgM and IgG antibodies specifically. Mumps ELISA is highly specific, does not cross-react with the other para-influenza antibodies, so it is commonly used with high specificity. Detection of IgM antibody or rise in IgG titer, that is fourfold rise in titer, suggests the active infection. The traditional tests such as neutralization, hemagglutination inhibition, and complement fixation tests are seldomly used now. Reverse transcriptase PCR can also be helpful where specific RNA such as the N gene in clinical specimen is used for detection of this virus by RT-PCR, that is reverse transcriptase PCR. It is highly sensitive and specific. Or we can go for the genotyping, which is done by targeting the small hydrophobic SH gene, the most variable region of the mumps genome. Treatment is no specific antiviral drugs is available, only symptomatic treatment is there. Mumps immunoglobulin is available but not effective, hence not recommended for treatment as a post-exposure prophylaxis. Only a symptomatic treatment is available. Live attenuated vaccine as a preventive measure is available, where it is a live attenuated vaccine of chick embryo cell line prepared vaccine is used, and mumps vaccine is available as a trivalent MMR vaccine, which is a live attenuated measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, or it can be used as a quadrivalent vaccine, that is MMR-V vaccine, which contain along with the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, the varicella vaccine is available, but not a monovalent type of vaccine is commonly used. Schedule is 2 doses of MMR is given by intramuscular route at 1 year and then 4 to 6 years before starting of the school of the children's. Now second is the measles, that is also called as rubeola virus. Measles is an acute, highly contagious childhood disease characterized by fever, respiratory symptoms followed by the typical maculopapular rashes. Transmission is same like other paramyxovirus, that is direct droplet inhalation or small particle aerosol that remain suspended, especially in the school, hospital and enclosed public places in the air for longer period. Spread is the virus multiplies locally in the respiratory tract, then spread to the regional lymph node, enter into the bloodstream in the infected monocyte to cause a primary viremia, further multiply in the reticuloendothelial cell and spill over into the blood to cause the secondary viremia, and there is a dissemination to the various sites occur. Target site of this virus is predominantly seated in the epithelial cells of the body, including mainly the skin, respiratory tracts and the conjunctiva. Clinical manifestation is the incubation period. For the incubation period is about 10 days, which may be shorter in the infant and longer up to 3 weeks in the adult. Disease can be divided into the 3 groups, that is the prodromal stage, that is the first stage which lasts for 4 days, that is from the 10th day to 14 days of the infection. This prodromal stage is present with the fever, Koplik spots and non-specific symptoms. Then second one is the eruptive stage, which is commonly seen where the time it is diagnosed is the eruptive stage, where maculopapular dusky red rashes is presented on the body. Rashes typically appear first behind the ear, then spread to the face, then arms, then trunks and legs, and then fade in the same order after 4 days of onset of these rashes. Fever is also a presentation that is common on the 10th day. Koplik spot will be on the 12th day, and rash is the 14th day. That is the way we have to remember is 10, 12 and 14 days. That is the fever, Koplik spots and the rash. Post-measles stage, it is characterized by the weight loss and weakness, and there may be failure to recover and gradual deterioration to make it a chronic illness. So this is the presentation. First figure is showing the Koplik spot, where the arrow is shown in the buccal mucosa. Second one is the measles rash that is seen over the face, and the measles is going to form a cytopathic effect over the cell line in the form of multinucleated giant cell in the cell line. So multinucleated giant cell is a common characteristic feature which is both cytoplasmic and intranuclear type of giant cell will be seen in the infected cell line. Complication of this measles is very important. The complication results from the secondary bacterial infection, and it is going to cause the otitis media or bronchopneumonia as a common presentation. Recurrence of fever or failure of fever to subside with the rash is also called as a complication. Worsening of underlying TB, if the TB is there with a false positive Montauk test, is also a complication. Complication due to measles virus itself is there, that is the giant cell pneumonitis in the immunocompromised children and HIV infected people, acute laryngotracheobronchitis, that is the croup, and diarrhea due to malnutrition including vitamin A deficiency or the deficiency due to a measles virus itself related complications. So complications are 2 types. One is the secondary bacterial infection related complication, and they are the most common, and measles virus related complication which are common in the immunocompromised patient or in the children because of the malnutrition. Third one is the CNS complication, which is also seen, and it is very complicated, that is post-measles encephalomyelitis, measles inclusion body encephalitis, and subacute sclerosing panencephalitis are the complication of CNS by the measles virus. Laboratory diagnosis is specimen we can collect is the nasopharyngeal swab, conjunctival swab, blood, respiratory secretion, urine, either ideal sample. Synthetic swabs are the recommended swab and not the cotton swab or other swab, which are inhibitory for the virus for the growth or detection. Antigen detection is we can also go for the virus isolation on monkey or human kidney cell line, or other cell line. After that, the growth we have to see for the cytopathic effect, that is also called as Warthin-Frankeldays cell line. Warthin-Frankeldays body is also called for the cytopathic effects. Antibody detection is common other than all the type of lab diagnostic point, that is antigen detection or PCR or other test. The antibody detection is very commonly used test for this detection. For that detection of the measles specific IgM antibody in the serum or oral fluid or fourfold rise in the IgG antibody titer between acute and convalescent phase data is taken as a significant. Demonstration of the higher titer measles antibody in the CSF is diagnostic for the SSP, that is subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. For that, we have to take the CSF sample to detect the measles virus related antibody which are of the higher titer. IgM are detected by the capture ELISA, whereas IgG antibody are detected by the indirect ELISA. So these are the types of ELISA for which we can by which we can detect the IgM or IgG. Reverse transcriptase PCR, that is common with the all type of paramyxovirus. It can be used. It is sensitive and specific. On the typical day we have to use, but it is very costly. Treatment for this measles is there is no specific antiviral therapy available for measles. Treatment is symptomatic and consists of general supportive measures only. Vitamin A has been effective in reducing the morbidity and mortality due to measles virus because there is a malnutrition, and because of that there is vitamin A deficiency which can affect the eyesight and other features in the body. General preventive measures for the measles is it is an airborne transmitted virus, so we have to take the airborne precautions such as isolation of the patient in the negative pressure room, or we can do simple isolation in the proper ventilated room if the negative pressure room is not available. Use of PPE such as N95, etc. we can be used while handling of measles cases. The preventive measure which we had discussed is for measles, there is a live attenuated vaccine of measles is available. One strain is SWAT strain, currently serves as a standard in much of the world, and another is the Edmonstone Zygribane strain. Another are the Moraten strain. Vaccine is prepared in the chick embryo cell line. Reconstitution is done. Vaccine is available in the lyophilized form. It has to be reconstituted with distilled water and then should be used within the 4 hours. Vaccine is thermolabile hand. It should be stored at the -20 degrees centigrade, and one dose, that is 0.5 ml, contains the more than 1000 infective viral unit is administered subcutaneously. Side effect of this vaccine is mild measles-like illness or toxic shock syndrome can be occur in some patients. Contacts are susceptible contacts over 9 to 12 months may be protected against the measles if the vaccine is given within 3 doses of exposure. So contact vaccine is also important. Measles following contacts, that is the measles immunoglobulin, can also be given to the contact person within 3 days at a WHO recommended dose of 0.25 ml per kg of body weight. However, both should not be given together. At least 8 to 12 weeks of gap must be maintained, otherwise the antibody will neutralize the vaccine, which is a live attenuated virus. So it should be given at the gap of 8 to 12 weeks. Epidemiology source are the cases are the only source of infection. Carrier are not known to occur in inapparent or subclinical infection are rare. Reservoirs are only human. Infective material is virus threaded in the secretion of nose, throat and respiratory tract. Period of communicate is patients are infectious from 4 days before to 4 days after the onset of RES. Secondary attack rate is very high, that is more than 90%. Age of infection of measles is mainly the childhood disease. Immunity is no age is immune if there is no previous immunity is there. Measles elimination, the target timeline for Southeast Asian region is set as 2020. The following objectives were set to achieve this target, that is more than 95% coverage with two doses of vaccine should be given to all the children for measles and rubella. Develop and sustain a case-based surveillance system. Develop and maintain an accredited measles and rubella laboratory network, and strengthen the support and linkage to achieve the above 3 strategy objectives. So these are the objectives which are set for measles elimination by 2020. Now another virus of important of this paramyxovirus is the Nipah virus and the Hendra virus. We already know this. Nipah and Hendra has caused very a few outbreaks in the recent few years also. So these are the zoonotic paramyxoviruses. Hendra virus was first isolated in 1994 in the Hendra, that is Australia, and Nipah was isolated in 1999 in the Malaysia. Reservoir where the fruit belt, that is the flying fox, are the natural reservoir for both Nipah and Hendra viruses. Geographical distribution is the virus are confined to the horses in the Australia, whereas Nipah was confined only to the pigs in the Malaysia, but there is a genetic reassortment, and from the fruit bed it has reached to the human by the the fly of these fruit bats. Transmission is enterovirus is transmitted by the exposure to the infected body fluids or excretion of the horses. Transmission of Nipah virus to human may occur after direct contact with the infected bats or pigs or a person. Consumption of infected rodent palm sap is thought to be another mode of transmission, which was suspected 2 years back in the South Indian region also. Clinical manifestation is both the virus are going to cause the encephalitis in the human. So whenever the encephalitis is suspected in such an area, we have to rule out this hand-brain Nipah virus as a DD also. Laboratory diagnosis for this virus is only a real-time PCR from throat and nasal swab or CSF, urine or blood should be performed in an early stage of disease. Antibody detection by ELISA can be used in the later stage, but first important diagnostic point for this virus is the real-time PCR is commonly done. Immunohistochemistry is performed on the tissue which is collected after the death on the autopsy, which confirm the postmortem diagnosis. Prone to cause the laboratory acquired infection are classified as a biosafety class 4 agent. So when we are dealing with the suspected case of Nipah or hantavirus sample or a patient itself or its autopsy material or any kind of material, we should go or we should deal the sample only with the biosafety level 4, or that is biosafety level 2 with the biosafety level 4 pathogen. So these are the pathogen of biosafety level 4, and we should use the laboratory that is containment laboratory that is biosafety level 3 or biosafety level 4. Treatment is no specific antiviral is available. Vaccine, subunit vaccine using the Hendra chip protein, which is going to produce the cross-protective antibody against the Hendra and Nipah virus. It has been recently used in Australia to protect the horses against the Hendra virus, and it can be used in the human as well. Now another is the respiratory syncytial virus. Transmission is mainly by the direct contact, contaminated fingers or fomite, or by self-inoculation of the conjunctiva or anterior nerve, or by the larger droplet inhalation. Spread of respiratory syncytial viral replicates locally in the epithelial cells of nasopharynx and may spread to the lower respiratory tract to cause the bronchiolitis and pneumonia. Pathology is lymphocytes in the large number migrate to the site of infection, secrete the several type of the cytokines which causes the following changes, that is further peribronchial infiltration of the inflammatory cells of mucosal edema, necrosis of the bronchial epithelium, and formation of the plug consisting of the mucous cellular debris, fibrin, which occludes the smaller bronchioles. The complication of respiratory syncytial virus is also because of the lymphocytes which are aggregated in the large number at the site of virus shedding. Clinical manifestation is the incubation period 3 to 5 days. Infants, respiratory syncytial virus is the most common cause of lower respiratory tract infection below the age of 1 year. Chest X-ray show the peribronchial thickening, diffuse interstitial infiltration, or occasionally lobar consolidation. Severe in premature infant and underlying congenital cardiac disease, bronchopulmonary dyspepsia, nephrotic syndrome patient, and immunosuppressed patient. So respiratory syncytial virus is also has to be ruled out, or it should be in the DD of the lung infection or the pneumonia cases mainly in the children of less than 1 year or a premature infant. In adult also, respiratory syncytial virus produces the influenza-like upper respiratory syndrome such as common cold, running nose, sore throat, and cough. Laboratory diagnosis is by the antigen detection, or we can go for the virus isolation to see the syncytial formation, or we can go for the PCR test. Antibody tests are also available. Treatment is the ribavirin is the drug of choice, and we can also go for the supportive treatment. Now the rubella virus is a family of Togaviridae, and it is the only member under the genus Rubivirus. Envelope single-stranded RNA virus of 50 to 70 nanometer in size, surrounded by the capsid protein. Envelope contains the lipid layer from which two types of spike-like glycoprotein E1 and E2 are projected. Types of rubella infection is postnatal rubella, that is the neonatal age, children and adult life. Seen in the adult life, transmission is by the respiratory droplet by the upper respiratory mucosa. Rubella virus replicate locally in the nasopharynx and then spread to the lymph node. Subsequently, viremia develop after 7 to 9 days and last up to 14 days, by which time both antibody and RES appear almost simultaneously, suggesting a immunological basis for the appearance of RES. Clinical manifestation is incubation period is 14 days. Rashes are often the first manifestation in the children, but in older children and adult 1 to 5 days. Prodromal often proceed the RES, which include the low-grade fever, malaise, and upper respiratory syndrome or symptoms. Rashes are generalized or maculopapular in nature. Lymphadenopathy is there. There are the spots which is common, and complication in the form of arthralgia and arthritis are common in the adults. Laboratory diagnosis of for this rubella is we should take the sample of nasopharyngeal or throat sample, We can go for virus isolation as discussed, that is monkey kidney cell line or rabbit origin cell line. We can see for the virus growth by the viral interference. Antibody detection is also common by ELISA and other method, and RT-PCR is common, but the common test which is available or commonly used test out of all these is the antibody detection test. Now one another important thing is the congenital rubella syndrome. The transmission is both the risk of transmission to the fetus and severity of congenital infection are maximum if the mother acquires the infection during the first trimester of the pregnancy. Risk after the 5th month of pregnancy is almost negligible, that is 90% risk at 11 weeks versus 20% risk at the 20 weeks of gestation. Clinical manifestation of this congenital rubella syndrome is the ear defect, ocular defect, cardiac defect and the CNS defect. Ear defects are the sensory neural deafness is common. Ocular defect are salt and pepper retinopathy is the most common ocular defect after the cataract, followed by cataract. Cardiac defect is the patent ductus arteriosus is there, and CNS defects such as microcephaly, mental retardation and motor delay and autism is common. Laboratory diagnosis for this congenital rubella syndrome is IgM antibody detection, as it doesn't able to cross the placenta. So whenever the IgM detection antibody is there from the baby, it is present. It is known that it is a congenital rubella syndrome. Or we can go for the reverse transcripted PCR to detect the virus RNA itself. Prevention for this is, it is an airborne precaution. We have to take the general preventive measure for such type of airborne precaution. We have to keep the patient in the negative pressure room or the cross ventilated simple air room. We should avoid the contact with such patients. Rubella vaccine is available, that is RA27/3 is a live attenuated vaccine for rubella prepared from the human diploid fibroblast cell line. Schedule for this vaccine is single dose 0.5 ml of vaccine is administered subcutaneously. It is indicated in the India because the rubella vaccine is indicated in all the women of reproductive age to prevent the congenital rubella syndrome. Followed by all the children, we have to vaccinate. Precaution is vaccine is contraindicated during the pregnancy. Infant below 1 year should not be vaccinated due to possible interference from the persisting maternal antibody. So we have to give the vaccine before the pregnancy to all the reproductive age of the woman and not at the time of pregnancy. This is all about the paramyxoviruses of clinical importance. Thank you.